Devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress.
Hello, Trabant.
Hello, Tito.
What are we looking at here?
Wow, this is a 5 years old video from China Uncensored when Chris Chappell is explaining how many dash lines China needs to claim the Arctic.
Let's take a look.
Yes, yes, please.
Hey, Chris, what you doing?
Oh, well, you know how China has the 9-dash line to stake its claim in the South China Sea?
Right.
Well, I'm just counting how many dashes it needs for its new claim in the Arctic. And it looks like it needs to be a 52-dash line.
Wow, that's a lot of dashes.
52.
I wonder if they need to draw it all the way from here, because we've heard that China is now a near Arctic state.
Yeah, that's a new Chinese definition of another group of countries that don't have actually any claims for the Arctic, and China is the first member.
It's just something that China came up with. Just because you say something first doesn't mean the whole world is going to abide by that.
China is like a mentally disabled person who claims he's Napoleon or any kind of historical figure.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like that, because some of these things, are stretched very far, right? But there is a point about the 9-dash line here. And here we can see a beautiful little collage, a little presentation. This is from the Barbie movie. So what happened there was there was some kind of a line that maybe might have looked a little bit might have had some dashes. So maybe the Chinese audiences were pleased. Wow, this looks like our map, and the Vietnamese audiences were upset because you can see this 9-dash line comes very close to Vietnam and also close to Malaysia, the Philippines. So it's kind of a tough claim on China's part.
Yeah, this is not a real map that was used in the movie, but the real map looks like more like a childlike drawing of the world map. But you can see something that reminds the dashed lines, and Vietnam thinks it's not a coincidence. What is
Personally, I don't see why Vietnam was offended. I mean, to me, this kind of a 9-dash line seems as fake as a Barbie doll.
Yeah, but this is not the first time that Hollywood used this kind of map. They used real maps with the 9-dash line just to please China to get the share of the market.
Well, a lot of customers in China.
Yeah, that's right. Funny thing. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesperson Mao Ning responded that Vietnam should not link the South China Sea issue with normal cultural exchange. Would you believe it? Would you believe it? The thief is calling other person thief. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are clashes in the South China Sea, and those that often make the headlines are clashes with Chinese vessels, right? For example, this is from 2 months ago, right? Chinese and Philippine vessels in a near crash in the South China Sea. Let's take a look.
Philippine Coast Guard Vessel 4403. This is China Coast Guard Vessel 5201. In the face of the friendly relationship between China and the Philippines, we hope you can cooperate with our deeds.
Yes,
Do not
cooperate with
take
our peace.
inappropriate behaviors which will interfere with maritime security.
Fairly good English.
Coast Guard vessel, DRP Malapascua, MRRV 4403, conducting lawful routine maritime patrol within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. In accordance with international and Philippine national laws, we are proceeding according to our planned route. Request to stay clear from our passage in accordance with collision regulation. Over.
Philippine Coast Guard Vessel 4403.
This is the Filipino vessel.
Since you have disregarded our warning, we will take further necessary measures on you in accordance with the law, and any consequences entailed will be borne by you. Over.
That's how the Philippine crew actually mentioned the law. The Chinese speaker simply says laws, but which ones, you know?
This is Philippine
Which ones?
Coast
From the
Guard,
moon.
DRP Malabrigo, MRRV 4402.
Yeah.
Conducting site survey for buoy laying operation within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. In accordance
Sorry,
with
they mentioned in accordance with international and Philippine national laws.
international and Philippine national laws.
Right.
We are
right,
proceeding
right.
according to our plan route. Request to stay clear from our passage.
China
in
is
accordance
harassing
with the collision regulation.
Every
Over.
vessel.
I mean, you know, this is not this wasn't anything serious. But it's annoying. Yeah.
It is annoying. It's very annoying.
Because you know these events can result in worse things, right? For example, this was 9 years ago, and in this case, this was a collision between Chinese ships and Vietnamese vessels. Well, let's have a look here.
It's unbelievable. So aggressive, so violent. You are ramming them.
This is what it looks like. Yeah. We can see this is the yeah.
Also notice that every Chinese is hiding inside. That's it.
No, in any case, you know, it's just unpleasant, right? And the reason why these things are happening and probably will be happening, you know, for some time to come, is because of this, right? China will not accept nor recognize the South China Sea court decision. Well, let's have a look here.
Let's look more at our top story, this court ruling over the South China Sea. China maintains its claim, and it is known as the 9-dash line. You see it in red there, and it is based on evidence dating back 2,000 years. China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Brunei, however, all have overlapping
China
claims
claims the whole sea, basically.
I mean, it looks like this, you know.
Everything.
Well, anywhere where there's some island that's, you know, that they have, you know, had on a Chinese map before.
China Sea is a major trade route and has abundant fisheries as well as possible oil and gas reserves. The court says China violated the Philippines' sovereign rights and caused irreparable damage to local ecosystems, though, as we said, China doesn't accept nor does it recognize the decision. Let's go to Beijing, talk to Victor Gao, Director of the China National Association of International Studies. Simple question, Victor. Why? Why does China not accept this?
Today is a day of infamy, and I think history will remember this day as this particular illegal arbitration court and tribunal are violating its own terms and misinterpreting the international law on the law of the sea. And the Chinese government has from the very beginning made its position very well known, not to recognize this court, not to recognize the ruling from this tribunal, and not to abide by any ruling from this tribunal. The Chinese government even has called this ruling as a piece of scrap paper. And I think what China needs to do is to make the case to the whole world China has sovereignty over this particular body of water, not only in terms of decades, but over hundreds of years. And also, China reasserted its sovereignty and territorial integrity in the South China Sea as a victory legacy of the Second World War. Okay. And the 9-dash line appeared in China as early as in 1947 or 48 and has been recognized generally by the international community all the way till today. No tribunal in The Hague will be able to take away what belonged to China for all this time, and the Chinese people are united to support the Chinese government in doing whatever we can to defend Chinese sovereignty and territorial integrity in the South China Sea.
I have to return to my original question, and that is why, and I'm talking about the tribunal itself. You've given me the historical reasoning that China gives. I'm wondering what it is, why is this tribunal viewed as illegal when other countries are happy to abide by it?
If you read history, there have been many, many cases where sovereign countries have decided to disregard the ruling from this kind of tribunal. The United States did that in the 1980s about the ruling on the Nicaragua situation. Many.
All right, well, let's let me pause for a second.
Yeah, that's enough, I think.
It's very funny. First of all, this was a good reiteration of the Chinese position, specifically the position of the government in Beijing. But it's funny, yeah, how he reiterated the Chinese position and didn't answer the question, and then turned it, on, for example, the United States. What about the US?
Yes, so what about? It's called whataboutism.
Yeah, it is that, and I don't know if these two things are related in the first place. I don't want to comment on that, but in this case, we are talking about an arbitration by a court in Hague, which decides the disputes between the two signatories of one document, one agreement. In this case, namely the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. So, but in this case, both Philippines and China signed this. Yeah. And basically, this is what it includes. About 12 nautical miles from the baseline are your territorial waters, where other countries should not enter without prior agreement. Yeah, and that includes your national airspace. So other airplanes shouldn't enter there without prior agreements. And anything aside from that is international airspace, or 200 more nautical miles are an exclusive economic zone. So ships can normally go there, but they cannot extract resources. So they can't fish there, they can't extract oil, gas, or coal from the ocean, or any other kinds of minerals without prior agreements, right? They can do some research there as long as they share their findings with the country that the exclusive economic zone, the EEZ, belongs to. Yeah.
Right.
But they should, if they're doing research, they should be marked. Yeah. But normally ships can go there without, without any problems.
Yeah. So China ratified this law.
Right.
China is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, so-called UNCLOS, but doesn't abide by it.
Yeah, so, I mean, the court might have ruled one way or the other, right? If it abided by, in China's favor, would they not abide by the result either?
Yeah, right. So it's not just about there's some kind of discussion whether or not China is actually abiding by the law. In January 2013, the Philippines initiated arbitration proceedings against China under the United Nations
Right, right.
Convention on the Law of the Sea, or over a range of issues, including the some historic rights claims inside the 9-dash line. And 3.5 years later, July 12, 2016, the tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines on most of its submissions. So there is no question whether China is breaking the law or not. China is breaking the law.
Yeah, in this case, yeah, and then I mean they're breaking an agreement that they themselves signed. So this kind of erodes trust in the Chinese government.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean,
Absolutely.
let's take a look at the history. Let's take a look at the different maps that we can see here. The original one that China keeps referring to is the one we see here on the left, right? This is, I believe, this is the reproduction of the Republic of China, 1946, 1947 published.
Yeah.
South China Sea map. You can see at this time it's still, it's red from right to left, right? So this means Nanhai, South Sea, island, the position of the islands in the South China Sea. Here we see some international, or I guess English names of these islands. So in
Yes.
personally, I like the Chinese names better because I think they are easier to remember. All the names start with Sha something like
Uh-huh.
like sand. So we can see, for example, here the Paracel Islands, right? Here described as Shisha, Western Shi Chundao, literally a group of islands or an archipelago. Yeah. Right next to
Uh-huh.
it is the Zhongsha, the middle Sha archipelago. This is looks like the Macclesfield Bank, right?
Uh-huh.
And you also have, a few others. You also have Dongsha, the eastern ones. This is the Paratas Reef. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And if you go down here, this is the biggest point of contention, because here you see a lot of islands right here, the Spratly Islands. Right, so here we can see the Nansha Chundao, the Nansha Archipelago. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry
this
to
is.
interrupt. Before
Go
we
ahead.
continue, I just want to say this historical map means nothing. There is proving nothing, zero. It has no value. China, by using this map, has no right whatsoever, no legitimate right to claim anything, even if this map is real, which China found in 1946 while, I don't know, just cleaning the cellar or whatever. So it means nothing. It means zero. No legitimacy. Nothing comes out of this map, right? China's only proof that owns whole South China Sea comes from this map. Okay, so we shouldn't be entertaining the Chinese idea that finding some old map has any value to, or any weight to its case. It's just claiming that if Italy tomorrow finds some map of their Roman Empire when they owned the whole Mediterranean Sea, and now the whole sea belongs to them, it has the same value.
It's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Wuchen has claimed that this is based on some ancient maps. The
Yeah.
International Tribunal that was deciding this question, I'm assuming they arrive at the same kind of a conclusion that you just arrived at.
Yeah.
That probably, nobody's denying that, maybe Chinese vessels have been visiting the islands, for maybe hundreds of years, and so have probably vessels from the neighboring countries,
Yeah.
so then, who's supposed to be the owner?
These islands are uninhabited, so uninhabited. So there are no people living there, right? So
Yeah, except
except
now there are some people that are supposed to kind of watch over the islands. Let's say.
right now maybe there's some. China has basically no voyages before 15th century. China starting and sailing
Well,
out
no,
of
not maybe not the
water.
major ones, right? The major ones start with
Okay,
Admiral
yeah,
Zheng He, and very quickly end with him because they were expensive.
China was never controlling this area. Even the voyages were just like going to discover something in lands far, far away, while the Westerners were already discovering America. China started sailing out, which is means nothing. I mean, China never controlled this area. China has no rights to claim the whole South China Sea. And it's funny, like the one of the argument. Sorry, you can continue after this. Why China claims that China named South China Sea. China didn't name
Good
South China
question.
Sea.
Yeah.
China was calling South China Sea South Sea,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and
It
Nanhai,
actually
right?
it actually says that right here on the map. Nanhai, the Southern
Nanhai.
Sea.
South China Sea was named South China Sea by the Westerners, and claiming that South China Sea has been under China's control for over 2,000 years, and the right to trade route should be rightfully theirs. No, it's not true. They're
Well,
lying.
as you said before, what was there to control if there weren't people living there, right? Nobody cared about this before. The only reason
Exactly.
why this has become an issue now is to either extract mineral resources or extract resources or to protect shipping lines. Those are the only reasons, right? So this is
Yes.
why the government in Beijing, was very happy to keep reusing the map that has been made in 1947 by then the Republic of China, and we
Right.
can see the dashes being drawn here. There were about 11 of them at the
Yes.
beginning. Now there's usually 9 of them. Sometimes there's a 10th added here around Taiwan. Yeah, just for good measure. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. It was in 2013, I think, they added another line. Just
And
just
anywhere between 9
yeah,
to 11, it's it's all good.
yeah, something in between, yeah, maybe more.
So, obviously, I mean, it does hasn't produced any major problems right now, except this legal
Hmm.
one. But I mean, China has been trying to um, have have some dominance in this area for a long time now. What we can see here is footage, from around the time between conflict between China and Vietnam, right?
All
And
right.
this all played out in the South China Sea as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, the Chinese vessel is shooting at the Vietnamese vessel,
Yeah.
and this seems like a transport ship. So why are they
Just because.
firing at them? You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Why?
I mean, you can tell them. You can. I don't know what the situation was back then. Normally,
They sank.
they might try to push them out of there, but this is an illustration of something a lot uglier that it can escalate to.
China started a war against Vietnam in 1949, and it was like a continuation of the conflict in 1988.
Yeah.
They sank two Vietnamese cargo ships, and they killed 64 Vietnamese, and they captured like 11 of them and put 9 in prison for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it
So
was very bloody conflicts.
in this case,
Yeah.
around some islands in the sea. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's an illustration of what these things can lead to. Here we can see what China has been doing to sort of reassert, to put, let's say, cement its claim in the South China Sea. Literally, what we see
Make it
here.
more concrete, I
I,
would
I,
say.
I think this is in the. I think we are looking at the right thing. For example, here, there's an original structure
Uh-huh.
here, and over here, yeah, we see, an artificial island built around here, including
Right.
a helipad. So, ships can dock here, helicopters can come here, basically the area is more under control than before. So we do see these kinds of artificial islands, popping up somewhere around where there might be, a rock or a few rocks that China might want to claim.
Yeah, money well spent.
Or that China is claiming. Yeah, I mean,
In 2019, China said they built rescue center that will provide stronger and more comprehensive support to rescue missions. They save people,
I'm sure
from
they will.
drowning.
So many people drowning in the middle of the South China Sea. God,
Yeah,
it's been, it's been a tragedy for
ensure the
decades.
safety of navigation and transportation in the South China Sea region. Exactly the opposite. And they said, no, we are not building any artificial islands. They lied.
Okay.
They lied unshamefully.
I mean,
Right.
it's this is what it is. Yeah. So here we see, all the different claims between all the countries that are involved. And if you go and look at the actual islands, it does paint a funny picture. Here are the different countries' claims in
Okay.
lines. Yeah. So for
So
example,
they
yeah, a lot of countries have a lot of overlapping lines here. Yeah, but you see the Chinese position really takes the seems to take the biggest piece of the cake, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
So,
good.
like I was saying, when you visit the islands, it can seem a little bit funny. For example, over here we see the Taiping Island, which is the largest in the Spratly Islands archipelago,
Yes. Yes.
administered by Taiwan, very far from Taiwan, mind you.
A little bit far.
And you can see around 400 reviews, probably from people who've never been there.
Right.
But, asserting either this or that position, depending on who they support. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, a little bit funny if you want to have a look.
Taiwan is not only claiming 9-dish line, but also all of mainland China.
Well,
The point is-
basically, since the Republic of China might have been reduced to Taiwan, but it sees it doesn't it see itself as a successor state to the Qing dynasty, right? So that's why the
Right.
Republic of China claimed all the areas that belonged to the Qing dynasty, right? The reason why it's not an issue is because, the ROC has been reduced to Taiwan and, some of these surrounding islands. That is the reason. And the PRC government has, since given up on some of these claims, not all of them. Right? They would sign agreements with the Soviet Union to normalize the borders and with some of the other surrounding countries. But, keep in mind, just because they signed these agreements, as we've seen, some agreements can be broken, apparently. and
Yeah.
probably they will not be for the
Mhm.
time being. But these things might still come up in the news, right? When as they sometimes do in China. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When we had the Sino-Soviet split and the Chinese-Soviet border conflict, these things were being mentioned in the Chinese media. How the Russians have treated the Chinese who were living in these lands before. So these things, they come back to haunt people. But anyway,
Yeah.
at least in on maps that don't belong to a country, you can see the border issues being drawn out, like between China and India here
But this is
in the
land. This
Himalayas.
is not a sea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
obviously in the sea, there's nothing to draw because it's water.
I don't think any other country does something like China, like drawing lines in the sea, saying that's like our, like it's a land. It's a land, but
Well,
it's not land. It's sea. It's water.
that's how we end up, with maps that seem a little funny because in this part, they show, very thick lines
Yeah.
around the islands. So, here is a duo of maps. The first one says 放眼世界, look broadly towards the world, to kind of broaden your horizons. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these Asian style maps, have the Asian countries in the center. So China is still in the middle. But this slogan is even nicer. This one says, 雄怀祖国, to kind of keep the motherland or the fatherland in your heart, embrace it around your bosom.
Oh,
Including
yeah.
the dashes in the South China Sea. And you see, they weren't able to fit all the dashes here, but don't worry, right? They made sure to include them in this little cutout here. So they're all
Mhm.
there. So it looks
Right.
comical because it's only draw around here, because this was the point of contention. Why isn't, why doesn't it stretch all the way around here, or, somewhere to the Arctic or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly.
So,
Yeah. This Nine line is very serious in China. Like the maps they make or the globes they make, they have to include this nine-dish line. And for example, I remember my colleague, his daughter was studying in middle school in America, and the school sent her some study materials, and they got delayed at the customs like for 2 weeks, and she was nervous. She was calling them, I need the materials, and eventually they arrived, but the customs removed the maps because they didn't include the nine-dish line.
what the hell?
It was
Okay.
for her geography class.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're published abroad, they're not going to include it, you know?
But they will check the map, at the customs and destroy the map. So no map like this can enter China
Wow.
because it will undermine Chinese sovereignty. And China, if it says something about how weak China is. If they are afraid of map, Chinese people seeing a map without nine-dish line.
I mean,
Yeah.
that does sound kind of dystopian. On
Yeah.
the other hand, we have seen pictures of, for example, Chinese tourists going to Vietnam. This happened, I think, in 2018. And
I don't
they
believe it.
specifically, they had some
I don't
t-shirts
believe it.
that included the nine-dash line. I don't think this was
I don't
photoshopped. I think
understand why
they
Chinese tourists purposely would be wearing T-shirts and reminding the Vietnamese of the war in 1979 and the skirmish on the sea in 1988 when they killed many of the Vietnamese. Not only civil in the war, it was like thousands,
why
70,000.
to pour salt onto these old wounds.
That's crazy.
Why? Well, I mean, obviously, no, I'm assuming nobody told these people, about this. I don't know if they learned about that. It's a good
Oh, I'm
question.
sure they don't know about the war. They don't know about the
I'm,
skirmish.
I'm
They
sure
were
they know
just
about the
very
war, but maybe not about
to
these
show
things.
patriotism. They think it's a kind of joke.
Yeah, I mean, you put on a shirt, to show I love my country. Yay! I mean,
Yeah.
that's all fun and games, but you know, nobody yeah, nobody stops to
There
think
was a
about what this shows to the other countries.
there was a survey from 2012 by the China Daily that found that 80% of the Chinese people surveyed were aware of the nine-dash line and believe that to be a legitimate claim on China's part. So everybody knows about it basically in China, and they know it's a sensitive issue, but they don't understand how sensitive it is because China controls all the information. China doesn't show any foreign news or doesn't allow any discussion, and so they don't know what they are doing. These people, they don't understand how their actions actually can be dangerous. Somebody could attack them physically in Vietnam. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I
Very,
mean,
very good point. So whoever came
show
up
me
with this
in,
bright idea, didn't think about the ramifications,
like imagine like a
possible
German showing
consequences.
up in Israel and wearing swastika or something like that.
And I have seen T-shirts like this in China.
Oh yes, yes,
And
swastika
an
floating.
old man, in a pink shirt with the German eagle and
Yes,
the swastika.
and they are even
So
aware of it. Like, sorry,
yeah.
just a short. Uh, I don't want to derail this discussion, but guy from my gym, he has a huge swastika on his neck,
Healthy?
and like a few months ago, he was like, okay, let's take a picture together, and I really wanted a picture with a swastika, and he knew about it. He just turned the other way. He said, "Oh, this swastika, this is not good. In some countries, they don't
So
like it."
yeah, so they are aware. Remember, maybe he was Buddhist, So I'm assuming that's why he would have it. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, just why?
Yeah, why would you provoke? Why would you do that? Unless you are not aware what you are doing, and that's what it is.
That's the point. So somebody jumped at the opportunity to make some money off of something that was in the news. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, the government's not gonna tell you no, or somebody didn't tell them no, that's a little too much. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem. Who's going to
I
tell you,
wonder how the Vietnamese
what's too
reacted.
much?
I'd like to see the Vietnamese reaction
Yeah, they were
when
not
they see
happy.
what
They
the
were
people.
crossing out the nine
Uh-huh.
dashes in pictures and so on.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I'm hoping nobody did anything to the tourists. Yeah, I'm hoping they were
When you
fine.
mentioned that there were originally 11 dishes, these two dishes they were removed, but the
Oh yeah, I wanted
premier,
to bring up why were they removed?
yeah, no, there was no explanation. And these dishes actually included the Gulf of Tonkin,
Mm-hmm.
which is right next to Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah, right here. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So these were eventually removed. No
Yeah.
explanation because if you're
Maybe
in
there
a
was
tuxedo and
no point of contention here at that moment. You see here in the Gulf of Tonkin, up to
yes,
here, it doesn't seem to be any contention. So
yeah, so they were removed.
what a nice
Right.
gesture.
Yes.
All right, but we do see the topics of China coming up when other countries are formulating their policies, or on the other hand, we also see China reacting in almost kind of an unnecessary fashion when other countries make up their own policies, right? For
Oh
example,
yeah.
there was a NATO annual meeting this year in Vilnius. You can see the NATO heads of state here. But what they do at these meetings is they tend to invite some countries, some partners from the Pacific region, right? So he would also, Australia would also be invited, Japan would be invited, New Zealand and South Korea. Basically countries that the United States and NATO works a little bit closer with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this time they also pay attention to China, and out of the 90 points of their Vilnius summit communique, mention China. And particularly it's point 23, which says the People's Republic of China's stated ambitions and coercive policies challenge our interests, securities, and values. The PRC employs a broad range of political, economic, and military tools to increase its global footprints, project power, while remaining opaque about its strategy, intentions, military build-up. The PRC malicious hybrid and cyber operations and its confrontational rhetoric and disinformation targets allies and harm alliance security. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It strives to subvert the rules-based international order, including the space, cyber, and maritime domains.
So
And
they mentioned that, yeah, they mentioned that too, the maritime
they
domains.
did.
Yeah. Okay.
And point 24, they say we remain open to constructive engagement with the PRC, and we will stand up for our shared values and the rules-based international order, including freedom of navigation.
Yeah. So they did kind of make it a point, and China, I think this is what China did not like. Yeah,
Yeah.
China was not
Sure.
happy with this. Yeah. Now, obviously,
No.
this is also not just in relation to the South China Sea, but perhaps now more related to Taiwan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also specifically, I guess NATO being concerned about China, you know, trying to play its members again, not against each other, but trying to inf- influence some of its members. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. But I think more changes are coming.
Yeah, because
Not
we
only
have seen something in the news. Germany has finally
mm,
published its 40-page, China strategy, and this has been
correct.
kind of described as kind of a shortened, a little bit average, almost a watered down version of Baerbock's uh, ideas. Back from November last year.
Mm-hmm. Actually, what was very shocking, like this year in April,
Yeah, because
then
you can see this is still from April. So maybe now
yeah,
the tone has been softened a little bit, but
yeah,
that's what's in the print. So what she and
yeah,
some other
yeah,
German politicians might be thinking might be a little bit
yeah.
harsher, right?
Yeah. Now listen to this. This is even harsher than with the new what is it called? Formula new
The
China
40, yeah, the
strategy.
40-page kind of a memorandum
So
that they've just sent
when
to
a
the
German
press.
foreign minister Annalena Baerbock described parts of her recent trip to China in April, she said she described it as more than shocking.
Wow.
She said it was more than shocking. This is Deutsche
Mm-hmm.
Welle news. The minister did not elaborate on specifics, but the comment was made after she noted that China has become more repressive internally and aggressive externally. And she said China has been seen as a trade
Harsh
partner,
language, but fair
competitor,
points. Yeah.
very harsh, competitor and a systemic rival to Germany. This is
Wow.
like you describe enemy. This is enemy.
Yeah,
competitor
yeah,
systemic
and
rival.
keep in mind, that China is Germany's largest trading partner still at this
Yes, yes,
point.
it is like 500 billion US dollars trade every year. Was even maybe last year it was really really big. So they said that the systemic rivals aspect is increasing more and more.
Yes, yes.
This is not good. This is not good. Uh, China is important. We cannot get around China, and we don't want to decouple. We just want to minimize our risks. Yeah. So the amount, sorry, the trade was 300
Okay.
billion euros,
Yeah, yeah, I see it here now.
300
Yeah.
billion euros last year. And they say Germany should not be naive and not repeat mistakes again.
Mhm.
It means the times are over.
Yeah, I
That you can
think
keep lying there.
Germany got
Yeah,
a kind of a cold awakening with the Russian reinvasion of Ukraine.
yeah, true,
Yeah, and
true. But it's not only about
this
Russia and
kind of
Ukraine. This is literally about China.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they said
you're right.
no more policy of change through trade.
So no more vandal durchhandel,
Yeah, that's over.
as
No more
it
that.
goes in German.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a very famous saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, Germany has a new policy, new strategy, new China strategy.
Or now they've made it official. Which also
It's
says
official now.
something.
It's official. They said it took long time because it's democracy. Everything takes long time to discuss, but
Good point.
it's been done.
Yeah.
It's been done. Yes, and yeah, Europe been very transparent, very open, and China is taking advantage of it because what Europe says they mean. They don't play games. And when you listen to the whole statement, it doesn't feel like it's aggressive. It's very calm.
Sure.
But
Okay.
China is the rival and systemic rival and competitor, and China is not a friend. China is not a friend anymore. Yeah,
That's quite a change.
yeah, it's a big change. It's a huge change. Yeah,
Well,
and we
hopefully China. Let's see how China reacts.
no, it's been done. They will pretend nothing happened because they knew it was coming
I
from April. That's why like two
understand.
weeks ago,
Understand.
Li
Hmm.
Qiang arrived in Germany, tried to
Right,
soften.
right, right.
They messed up. They
Hmm.
messed up something in April. The Germans came to China in April, and then Barbo came home and they said, it was more than shocking.
Yeah.
What happened? What did they do? What did they mess up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did they threaten them? Just wake up, China. Just start behaving. Just stop making everybody angry. You have no friends. You have no allies in the world. You are alone. You are standing alone. And you need everybody. You need Germany, 300 billion euros. You need America, $500 billion.
I mean,
You need
sorry.
everybody because the consumption is low. You just need to export. You need to sell. So let's see. Let's hope next year
Let's
maybe.
see, but no more Wandel durch Handel. No
No.
more expectations of change through trade. Maybe
No,
maybe change through pressure on trade. Maybe is
yeah,
what we could call it. But yeah,
yeah.
let's see. All right.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, pleasure talking to you again, and
Yeah,
see
thank
you
you,
next
Tal.
time, Trabant. Have
Yeah,
a good
talk to you
one.
next
See
time.
you. Bye.
You too.